All right, we are live, and today I have a very special guest. Actually, my former neighbor who's went on to accomplish many amazing things. So today I interview an entrepreneur, a business developer, traveler, co-founder of Trip Merchant, and co-founder of NotWasted.ca. Welcome to the Winner Circle, Ryan Mikucki.
Thank you, Derek. Great to be on here, and very humbled to be on here. You've interviewed some pretty amazing people, so I commend you for this podcast series you started. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad to have you on, and I miss having you right next door. We had some really great times way back when. So I miss you since you've moved away.
Yeah, I recognize your background there. So
yeah, there's a lot of fun times had here.
Yeah.
So this podcast is a very positive, uplifting, and inspiring podcast. So despite all the chaos going on in the world still, we try to keep things light here. And this first question is a really light one. And that is, Ryan Mikucki, what do you love about your world right now?
That's a great question. There's a lot that I love about my world right now. Being in the travel business, it's nice to see that travel slowly coming back. So I'll just start with that. I know we'll probably dive into my businesses a little bit further shortly, but really, if I look at, probably two keywords come to my mind right now, and that's autonomy and maybe connectiveness as well. And I love, for the last 4 years, I've been, an entrepreneur. I left a company after 10 great years there, but I took the plunge and started my own company, which was Trip Merchant. But having the freedom, the ability to take control of my time, my days, and really live a balanced lifetime, a work-life balance has been very important to me. To be able to work really intensely with my businesses, and then having the ability to say, hey, I got to mentally check out. I got to go for a hike and going to the mountains for a hike in the Rockies here. To have that freedom, that autonomy is quite fulfilling for me. But also connectiveness, over the last year and a half, I think everybody can attest to this, but it gave you a lot of time to connect with your loved ones, my wife, for example, my family, friends. You really focused on your true friends over the last year and a half, and being connected to my businesses, the outdoors, you name it. But I'd say that's what I love about my life right now, and the ability to travel soon enough again.
Right on. The next question I find is a question that really helps our listeners understand who I'm talking to. And that is asking you about your mission. So you have professional missions, but I'm looking for that overall arching mission that exists in all that you do, from your business with Trip Merchant and NotWasted.ca to your relationship with your wife, to your relationship with your family, to your relationship with your friends, and everyone in between. So what would be that overarching mission, your guiding that North Star that guides you on all that you do, Ryan?
Yeah, a lot comes to mind here, but I would say to make an impact on everything that I set my forth doing, whether it's in my professional life or personal life. So, but also being, an inspiration for those that, directly or indirectly, that wish to start their own business or have a really strong relationship with their significant other. So, I really, want to make an impact in everything I do, help make an impact for others in different facets of their life, but also to show that they can reach their full potential. And when you focus on something so intensely, it's amazing how powerful it is and successful you can become after focusing on that. So making an impact on everything I do and being inspiration for others through travel, through health and wellness and relationships.
And you are absolutely doing that. So let's take a little snapshot at a big piece of that, and that is your two businesses. So we can start with Trip Merchant, and then we can go on to your NotWasted.ca, which is a new endeavor that you recently got into. So let's talk about the history, how those two came to be, and what are those, and what are your missions with those businesses?
Yeah, great question. And I won't be too long-winded. I'll do my best to condense this. But, I always like to say my travel journey started when I was a baby. We went to Hawaii for a trip. So that's when I started I had the travel bug after that Hawaii trip. And, I was very fortunate growing up and going on vacations with my family. And fast forward to university, I ended up joining a faculty called Recreation Management and Community Development at the University of Manitoba. And so after completing that degree, actually during that degree, I found my love for travel. I mean, I traveled over the years. I did a backpacking trip to Eastern Europe, Poland down to Bosnia, which is an incredible life learning experience. But I knew at some point I wanted to be in the travel business. And after actually it was the fourth year of my of my faculty of my bachelor's degree, I did an internship in Los Cabos, Mexico. For most people will do an internship in Winnipeg or Manitoba. I challenged the status quo, and I asked if there was an opportunity for me to leave the country and do something that was aligned with our faculty, with our internship. And I became a recreation coordinator at a resort in Los Cabos, Mexico. And it was at the Westin Spa and Resort, an unbelievable resort. And I've been to Mexico or Cabo San Lucas probably 10, 15 times since, because it's one of my favorite places in the world. But that was really where I realized I needed to be in the travel business, whatever it is, whether it was in the hotel business, whether it was, sales and marketing. I didn't really know. I actually finished that internship. I received 12 credits for that as well. So I wasn't complaining about that 3-4 month experience. And then I finished school and applied to various jobs within the travel industry. And sure enough, I landed a job with a company named Colette Vacations. They're a global tour operator that provides guided tours around the world. And you name the country, they pretty much travel there. And my role there over the 10 years was in outside sales, where I would promote and sell various trips or tours around the world. And I was very fortunate to see a lot of the world as well during this time. After about 8 years or so as a sales representative in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and the province of Alberta, where I currently live, I ended up becoming the Canadian sales manager. So I was managing our team across the country. But during this time of the 10 years that I was at the company, we'd work closely with a lot of different membership-based organizations or associations throughout Canada, where we would provide the members of these different associations with a member benefit if they booked a Colette tour. And it was quite successful with that approach. And a lot of members would come up to us pretty consistently and say, hey, Ryan, we like guided tours, we like Colette, but we want to do a river cruise. We want to do an ocean cruise. Can you sell that to me? And unfortunately, that was something we didn't have available within our portfolio of trips. So that sort of, we kept that in our back pocket, my business partner and I. And after 10 years, I ended up joining a digital marketing company dedicated to the travel trade, where essentially we were building, it was a software as a service business. So we were selling an online travel platform to travel companies throughout North America that really help enhance their overall digital marketing solutions or strategy through newsletters, social media, and other channels. But shortly after joining that company as vice president of I was vice president of business development. Essentially, my business partner and I decided to create our own company, which is Trip Merchant. And just to go on that a little further, we officially launched the company in November of 2018. We have a unique model. Yes, we are considered a travel agency, but we're more of a hybrid. We're an online, offline type of model, where we work closely with membership-based organizations throughout Canada, and we provide them with various travel deals or benefits to that, and there are a range of travel styles, whether it's river cruise, adventure travel, long stay vacations, independent travel, and group travel, even quite successful. And essentially, we're trying to accommodate the diverse interests of all these travelers. And so we essentially enter into agreements or partnerships with these different groups across Canada, and we add value to their member benefit program that they currently have in place, because they always have travel insurance, but one of the key ingredients is the trips, and that's where we fulfill that gap. And work with various associations throughout the country, and we hope to enter into the US next year as travel is starting to rebound. And very fortunate to see about 60 countries, if not more. I think it's about 63 countries now during my time in the travel industry. So it's been pretty incredible.
That's such an amazing story, and I'm going to delve deeper into there. But let's hear a little bit more of your other company. Why did you have all this success in the business world? So why Not Wasted, and what is that?
Yeah. This is a fun one to talk about. This is I like to call new baby. I know you said co-founder before, but actually this is one I focused on being just the founder. I just want to start this one all on my own, and eventually grow and build a team. But that was an aspiration of mine, to start my own business on the side. Ironically, or I guess it's a positive thing, but at the same time, travel started to come back in, I would say, May, June for future travel. So did the launch of Not Wasted. So it's been busy, to say the least. But you know what? Not Wasted, it has a unique name, I'm sure you can appreciate, but now you understand when I explain what it's all about. But over the pandemic, I mean, let's take March to December. During this time, there's a lot of people who, maybe were over consuming with alcohol, but realize that their relationship with alcohol maybe is starting to change. And, where there's a lot of boredom, there's a lot of mental health issues during this time. And so for me personally, I realized some of the adverse effects of alcohol, not that I was drinking too much, but as an entrepreneur and an outdoor enthusiast, I realized, you need to be alert in the mornings. You have to be fully clear-headed, get rid of that. You don't want to be lethargic waking up in the morning, just be fully focused on your day-to-day responsibilities. And so December, my wife actually, and this is really Not Wasted, serendipitous in terms of how it came about, but my wife brought home some non-alcoholic craft beer. And by the way, there's a whole cultural shift. It's a whole lifestyle movement right now, this non-alcoholic beverages, or they call it no and low alcohol beverages. So if you do some research, you'll just see that it's so much in its infancy, but there's more and more brands. I can't keep up with all these new brands and companies that are coming up with unique flavors that taste exactly like a real beer, like a real spirit, like gin or a real wine. It's absolutely incredible, but no alcohol, 0 to 0.5%. So when my wife brought home this non-alcoholic craft beer, as a beer you can pick up at your local grocery store, I was immediately impressed with the flavor. And the purpose of Not Wasted is, firstly, to help people break that habit of drinking too much, but also maybe it's not just to eliminate alcohol completely, even though it caters to so many different walks of life, but also to, drink in moderation. I've actually eliminated drinking my favorite alcoholic beer because of the non-alcoholic beers that are available in the marketplace today worldwide. It's unbelievable, the flavor profile. So fast forward, January, February, I started researching, sampling, doing my due diligence, and I decided fully to create an online e-commerce website dedicated to selling high quality, non-alcoholic craft beer, spirits, and other alternatives like sodas and wine. And it's just, I launched officially June 1st, and it's absolutely been overwhelming. It's really, really been overwhelming. And seeing the engagement and the interest levels from, again, so many different demographics is really encouraging. And I know that I'm making a difference in a lot of people's lives when it comes to health and wellness, but really for those that want to live a balanced lifestyle. And it's, again, I just did a farmer's market the other day in my local community, and there's so many people, and there's a term in this non-alcoholic space, and it's called sober curious. There are a lot of people that are curious to find out more about the options available. So, I had unbelievable sales at this 4-hour event just because people were very curious, or they realize they're pregnant, or they're new parents, or they're athletes, and they need something to supplement or eliminate their alcohol intake. And now we step in as a great solution for them. And I'm curating, again, a wide variety. We're continuing to grow. My Instagram and so forth are growing day by day, and it's just neat to see again the engagement from all walks of life. So
Wow, so amazing. I really appreciate what you're doing. And alcohol is something I've stopped consuming as well. And I think that is the trend more and more people are moving towards. Like, I truly believe like alcohol is like a very toxic drug, like very detrimental to our personal health, but our societal health and the people we're around. So it's great that you're providing people this option, this door, to try an alternative way. So great.
And just to add, I mean, there's obviously so many benefits, but it helps reduce stress, anxiety. It promotes better sleep when you drink these non-alcoholics. I mean, there's many different. No hangover. Yeah. I mean, that's a big one.
That's huge.
The name Not Wasted, just to end with this point, that it's kind of cheeky in a way, because it's not drinking too much. You're not getting wasted, but it's really not wasting your days, your time, your mornings, waking up, and really focusing on optimizing on your time, your health, your happiness, and productivity. That's really the focus of Not Wasted. And people can incorporate in different ways in their life. So
yeah, and it's a great harm reduction tool, right? So instead of having 2 beers, 1 beer, and then 1 not wasted beer.
Definitely.
And then
there's so many different methods of how you can incorporate it. So
yeah. And to transition from, like, if someone is wanting just no longer seeing alcohol serving them, they just can't go cold turkey. They can transition with your product, and they can go socialize and like have something in their hands, have something to drink. I think it's ingenious. Absolutely. So well done.
Thanks. Thank you.
So let's examine something that holds a lot of people back from doing all these amazing things you've done. Let me list a few. So one thing that holds people back is like moving. So you grew up in Winnipeg, and your family's here, your brother was here, and you went over to Alberta and you moved there. So like that's a fear that a lot of people don't take. Another fear that you overcome was you were at Colette, very successful. You worked your way from a provincial manager to a national manager, and that was like a very secure job. And you left to start your own business. So another fear you faced was starting a brand new company, NotWasted.ca, and taking all the responsibility on as yourself as the founder. So undoubtedly, fear has arisen for you in all those occasions. So what is your relationship with fear? How are you able to say yes to your calling of must, rather than listening to the shoulds of society, media, maybe family, to stay it safe, play it safe, stay secure? Well, how are you able to just go all in and step into that unknown?
Great question. A lot comes to mind here as well. It's, moving from Winnipeg to Calgary, I needed just a change, and I had an opportunity with my company to, have a bigger territory. So that was something that I was just prepared to do and give it a chance, see what happens. I think it's just giving it that chance is really important. Really, I think encapsulates all this, that question you're asking. But it's I think my whole life I've been willing to take risks or challenges, calculated risks to some degree, but just going for it and really taking on whether it's in, again, professional life, personal life, just taking on different chances to excel. If I look at when I was at Colette, and really just my whole life, I like to say I was sort of an entrepreneur in heat. I would always think of ideas, always think of, and there are many people to this day that still talk about ideas, but they don't execute in it. And it's tough. It's not an easy step to take in life. And I have to say, over this time of having ideas, they don't come to fruition. Maybe I've focused on it briefly, and then it sort of dissolves because my passion or my interest towards it wasn't as big as I thought it was from the initial idea or concept. But I think you really have to love what you're doing, be obsessed with it really, and passionate, and then that will help you and give you a lot more confidence. And you need to eliminate that self-doubt. I think a mantra that I followed throughout my life is, especially over the last 5-6 years or so, is being comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's something that I've honed in on and really focus on. There's been many situations in my life where it has been uncomfortable to take that chance and risk to move forward. But I always repeat this mantra. So anytime I take on a new challenge and I don't feel comfortable, it's amazing how you can condition yourself to be comfortable with that particular thing or a situation. And so again, just a story with Colette. When I was there, there's a lot of times where I did want to start my own business. The good thing about that company is I had all the tools, the resources, and I was making a good money with the company as well. I was treated very well there. But there are moments that I wanted to start my own thing. And after 10 years, work-life balance was becoming a challenge for me at that company. I was traveling too much. Not many people could say that, but I was traveling too much. And I needed to, be a little bit more settled in Calgary and Alberta, and, really focus on a work-life balance. And so taking that plunge from Colette to starting my own business, or getting into sort of a semi-entrepreneur mode when I joined that digital marketing company, it was a great stepping stone to move forward and really face that fear and just go for it. And at the end of the day, you just need to be confident in your skills, your abilities, and take on the challenge. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, you've got backup plans that you can do something else. But you probably be very surprised with what you can accomplish if you're focused on a goal and you have all the tasks and activities required in order to achieve it. It's actually scary how amazing that and powerful it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that answered your question, but yeah.
No, that was great. And let's examine some of those challenges, because on all heroes' journeys, there's highs and lows and stumbles upon the way. So what have been some of the challenges you've encountered just on your path? What were they, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, there's been a lot of mini sort of challenges along the way. I'm going to refer to even the last year and a half, if this, and then I can always go back even further if necessary. But the last year and a half being in the travel industry was one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced in my entire life. You just start a business in November 2018, and it was a year and a half in the business. Things were going very well. I just returned from Egypt. I was leading, my business partner and I were leading 2 groups to Egypt, 30 people on each. We got back to Canada on March 5th, and the world changed right when we came back. But it was amazing how we were able to be successful till literally March. And then March to today, I mean, it's improved last couple months, but it really was repatriation flights for travelers coming back to Canada. It was cancellations. It was refunds. It was, booking people for future dates. It was absolute chaos. And, there's a lot of windows of optimism as the vaccine conversations were starting to coming. There's quite an interesting timeline to where we're at today. But we've been in a business as a business for 3 years. We've been in it for a year and a half. So it's to be able for the last year and a bit to consistently communicate, consistently focus on our purpose as a company. I'm referring, of course, just to Trip Merchant in this case, as a company, to provide these members with blog content, inspiration through videos, articles, doing newsletters, and providing future trip opportunities for them. As soon as the doors sort of opened back in June, when more people started to be comfortable for traveling for the future, we won over a lot of customers, and people are booking with us. We're selling out group departures for next year. So if I come up with one sort of phrase, it's really just turning a negative into a positive. And even during this pandemic, and I don't want to get too detailed into this, but through my travels, I would say philanthropy and giving back to some of these local communities was something I was interested in. I did a lot of this at my previous company. So while I wasn't traveling, I wanted to turn this and while business was very quiet, I wanted to turn a negative into a positive. And so from January, I believe it's February to March, so for a couple months, I did a charity challenge in the outdoors in negative 30, 35 degrees Celsius. So it was really cold. And I was doing a lot of these different winter activities where I was raising money for Food Banks Canada. I was traveling up to 300 kilometers over that time frame, and raised over $4,000 for Food Banks Canada. It was quite a rewarding, fulfilling experience. So, that was a challenge, but again, turning these negatives into a positive. And I think that's something that everyone should consider doing at any time. Don't get low or down, but keep pushing forward and turn it into positive.
Mm-hmm. So you've learned kind of this attitude and this entrepreneurial and just philanthropic spirit from many of the helpers and mentors you've met along the way. So let's take a moment to acknowledge some of these people. Who were some mentors and helpers that come to mind that really influenced you in your being? And what were your major takeaways from them that you've incorporated into the man you are today?
Well, it's my family's all, my mom, dad have been mentors for me, but my dad, he has his own business, and he has been a realtor in the past, so he has a lot of experience in this. So my dad's been a really strong mentor for me. Anytime I'm not sure what to do with a certain project, he's the first I will call to help, maybe come up with a solution or calm me down from, thinking differently. But, that's sort of professional and personal. My dad, there's been some others in my life within the travel industry. One gentleman who was my manager for really almost 8 years at Colette is one that, trained me and really molded me into being in, who I am today in regards to the travel business and learning sales and marketing. And so, yeah, there's been a few influential individuals in my life, but, I look at my dad as definitely one of the key figures because he handles in both personal and professional life. And sorry, there's a second part to that question. I'll make sure I'm answering it as well. So.
Yeah, no, the question was just who are those notable mentors and helpers? And I think you covered the main one, and that was your father and how he helped you. So let's get into how you, as a leader, help others. So, what lessons have you learned on how to be a good leader and business partner in the various roles you lead?
Yeah, a leader, there's a lot of qualities that can come to mind. I mean, you have to be knowledgeable in your field and your craft, having drive and dedication, this persistent or tenacious, drive is really key. But if I go deeper than that, it comes down to being empathetic, patient, even vulnerable, having this, really strong emotional intelligence and understanding where each individual is coming from is important. But I think, there's a difference between management and leadership. And I would say leadership is really inspiring individuals or those that didn't think things were possible to do and really helping them to achieve that, through guidance, but they really can achieve it on their own account. So, as a leader and a lot of experience that I've had, my business partner and I, we're both sort of leaders of the company. Yes, we do have a few employees that we're slowly starting to bring back as travel is coming back, but we have a great working relationship when we do have different responsibilities and tasks that we focus on. But we have big aspirations, a big vision to grow this to a much larger level where we're almost ubiquitous or omnipresent throughout North America, US and Canada, maybe even the world. Who knows where we end up? But there's, at the end of the day, inspiring others to achieve things that they didn't think were possible.
Yeah. So you've traveled to over 63 countries, you said. let's hear some highlights, some of the favorite places you visit. And then also keep in mind this second question, through all these 63 countries that you visit, what was the commonality that you've seen amongst the human spirit and everyone that you've met? This throughout the cultures, the countries, the cities. What is the
Sure.
commonality you've seen? And then what are some of your favorite memories from your travels abroad?
Great. This could be an hour long description, but you know, yes, I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of amazing countries, but and I get this question asked to me a lot, and I say, okay, I'll give you a few, and then I end up saying 10 to 15, but I'll reduce it here. I'll go to 5 different countries that I really found as memorable or some of my favorites, and there's different reasons that you love different trips for, you know, the experience, the adventure, what have you, the culture. But I would say Colombia is actually one of my top destinations. India comes to mind. I've been there a couple times, and it's unbelievable location. It's chaos, I like to say, but it's just amazing culturally. South Africa is so diverse. It's one world in one country, and I'm planning to go back there in the fall of next year. Iceland is an adventure destination, and then Morocco will just mesmerize you. It's my wife and I did that trip a couple years ago, and it's one that I can't wait to go back. So those are some of my top 5, but I know there's others like Vietnam, etc. But you know, commonality that I see is, you know, at the end of the day, we are very fortunate to be traveling to these destinations. You know, that's the first thing I wanted to refer to or mention, because you know, there's so many people in this world that are less privileged to have what we have in Canada, or to be able to travel throughout their own country, or even leave their own village is a challenge for some of these people. So we're very fortunate, very privileged. But a commonality that I see is that everybody in these countries are so happy with what they have. Whatever they have, whether they're not, you know, well off, or they are well off, they're very happy. And, you know, going into, you know, a destination like India, I've been in some rural villages there, and, you know, they have really nothing, very little that they can, you know, boast about. That just really, life is tough for them, but they can, whenever they see you, they are waving at you. They're very hospitable. They welcome you into their home, and they're always having a smile. And that makes it, the experience of traveling to these destinations, you know, 10 times better, because everybody's just happy. And I've been to many different, you know, orphanages or local communities where we would give back, help paint a school, or build, you know, houses for them as well. And I tell you that they're just so, you know, so happy, but also so thankful that you're able to provide this experience for them too. So
Mhm. How can we cultivate that sense of happiness here in Canada? What advice would you give to Canadians to kind of take that on a bit ourselves?
yeah, yeah, I think it's a good question. It's for everyone, it may be a little bit different, but you know, I would encourage people to, you know, when you travel, there's a lot of benefits to travel, and it opens up your mind. It makes you more, you know, well cultured. If individuals have the ability to travel, that will open their minds so much further, and their perspective in their life will change dramatically. You know, yes, many people, including myself, want to have success and some of these, you know, make money, but you know, you also have to be happy. I think happiness is really key. But also, you know, for example, if you have a business, it's not about getting into the business just to make money and being able to buy all these fancy things. I think the journey is being passionate, excited about it, and enjoy what you're doing, and maybe that will follow. But it's just loving what you do and being happy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to all the guests I've interviewed thus far, another piece of that picture is gratitude.
Definitely, Grant.
What
Absolutely, yeah.
what
It's
are
great.
three
And
things
just to that point, you know, you know, attitude of gratitude, I always refer to it that way. You have to appreciate everything that you have in your life. And I don't know about yourself, I'm sure there's several listeners that do the same, but every day I read through my list of things that I'm grateful for. And I think that's, yeah, really important to focus on.
Yeah. What are three things you're grateful for right now that come
Okay,
to
well,
mind?
I didn't look at my list this morning, so I don't know, just kidding. But I'm, grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my great relationship with my wife and my family, and I'm grateful for having two businesses that are starting to flourish here.
Beautiful. So your wife has come up a few times in this conversation, and you weren't married when we were
No.
neighbors, and now you are, and you have a really great relationship, and you've had the opportunity to travel the world with her. Talk to me about your relationship. How did that come to be, and what lessons have you learned from your wife?
All right, this is a good one to focus on. So funny enough, I met her here in Alberta, but she's from Winnipeg as well. I did not know her in Winnipeg, and you can attest this, but generally, everybody in Winnipeg, whether it's through one network or the other. But I was on a work trip and I connected with a friend out there in Edmonton, and Lindsay was actually with her at that time. So we met at that time, and then we continued our conversation. And sure enough, we've been together for, oh geez, what year is that? 2012, 2013. So almost 8 years we've been together, married for about 5. And she is pretty incredible. I always refer to her as Superwoman. She's very patient, as you can imagine, with me having 2 businesses right now, and always have to be on the go and doing something, whether it's again hiking the mountains, going for a bike ride. Sometimes she tries to keep up with me the best she can, but she puts me in my place. And I think at the end of the day, she's taught me just really to take it easy, be present in a lot of locations at times of my life and our days together, but also just don't take on more that I can't handle, and really focus on the moment.
Mm-hmm. So what are some keys to your guys' strong relationship?
Oh boy. I think, number one is it's communication. Communication is absolutely imperative if you want to have a successful relationship. So yeah, I would say communication is probably right at the top. Being honest and transparent with one another, and really being helpful, around the house, for example, doing these little mini tasks that maybe she's focused on doing a lot of time, but you step in and contribute around the house, and doing nice things occasionally as well for, will go a long way for me. But I would say all those would really be important.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the memorable trips you've had with her?
I would say we've been to several destinations. Belize, Portugal was our honeymoon, actually. We were in Spain, actually, in February. In between the 2 Egypt trips that I was hosting, we met up in Spain. That was great. But I would say Morocco was probably our favorite trip together. Lindsay is not as well traveled as myself, but I've shown her the world a little bit, which is great. And this was definitely a more authentic, off the beaten track type of destination where cultural shock can step in. And she had her moment, but after that, she said it was probably her favorite trip she's ever done because of the way that we did the trip, from all the different locations we visited, the unique experiences. And so I would say Morocco.
Excellent. So you've talked about the importance of work-life balance, and this is something that has become increasingly important to you and more at your awareness. So let's talk about that work-life balance. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, I recently, and I'm sure Wim Hof, but I
Yeah.
read a book recently, Wim Hof, basically how to activate your full potential. And I think there's a lot of takeaways from that I've incorporated to my work-life balance. When I'm overworked, that's my balance side of things, whether it's the breathing exercise and so forth. But when I wake up in the morning, I try to wake up fairly fresh early in the morning, and it is reviewing your goals and the things that you're grateful for, and having that time in the morning actually with my wife, just to have a conversation before getting into work mode. Once work mode really kicks in, it's a fairly full day, but at that end of the day, it's allocating that time to fit in physical activity, whether it's going for a trail run in my neighborhood here, going to the local gym, but also spending that time in the evening to cook dinner with my wife and connecting as well in the evening. And then maybe before bed, it's finishing a bit of work. But yes, it's very focused on work, because that's your livelihood. You really have to focus on growing that, but you incorporate a lot of personal time, whether it's with your partner, but also physically as well, physically, emotionally. I mean, I know many individuals use yoga as a way to provide that balance, but again, as I referred to in the beginning, having the autonomy to check out if I feel like I'm overworked or if there's too much pressure. Then it's nice to be able to feel like, hey, taking a break, I'm going to go for a quick run or just a simple walk with the dog around the block. So
Yeah, those are all some great tips. And I can't have you on without asking you for some travel tips. What advice would you have for travelers? What are some of your tips and gems of wisdom you've learned on your journey through all these countries and this decade plus in the travel industry?
Sure. Well, there's different advice that we could provide right now based on the fluid situation of COVID and so forth. But if I refer back to pre-pandemic and so forth, just explore outside your surroundings. When I travel now, I do love to go to off the beaten track, authentic locations. It opens your eyes to so much more. I'm planning a trip with my wife shortly to the Netherlands, Costa Rica in the fall, but these destinations we tried, whether it's traveling with my wife or business partner or under different groups, but it's really trying to, do your research before going. I mean, yes, there's travel companies that can provide a lot of great tips and tricks and guidance, but finding these locations, connecting with local individuals in these different cities, countries, they can give you a local perspective that gets you going off the beaten track and not going to these tourist locations, whether it's going to a unique restaurant or a cool neighborhood where there are very little tourists, to a rural town outside the major city center that tourists don't go to. I would say it's just go outside maybe your comfort zone a little bit, and you will be maybe shocked at first in some of these cases, but you also will find it to be some of your more memorable experiences when you travel.
Yeah. And safety is an issue though with people in travel. Safety concern is something that comes up. How do you stay safe when traveling?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really depends on the style of travel that you're doing and where you're traveling to. When I refer to let's say where you're traveling to, it's always good to understand, what the conditions are like in that specific country. I brought up Colombia as one destination as being one of my favorites. And I think there's many preconceived notions about the destination of Colombia with, cartel and Pablo Escobar, all this always come to mind. And so when I went there, my business partner and I traveled there in summer 2019. We were beyond surprised with how safe we actually were when we went, even though you hear the opposite. And tourism to that destination has grown 300% since about 2008. So it's growing and more people are traveling there. But at the end of the day, you just have to be sort of prepared. I mean, there's different styles of travel that you can take on, such as a tour, a river cruise, an ocean cruise. I'm taking out COVID from this because COVID is sort of a different sort of status or condition, but in terms of, if you're referring to crime and different things like this, being part of a group tour, and you have the professionals in these different destinations that are hosting the trip. They're the tour directors, the bus drivers. They're the ones that are the experts, and they'll provide that extra security and comfort. But again, I think it's all relative to the destination you travel to. Even Egypt is another one comes to mind. I've been there a few times now. It's one of my favorites, but I feel beyond safe traveling throughout. Security is present throughout, but also traveling with our partners in these destinations. They are the experts and they know the places to go and not to go. And they provide you with that extra sense of safety and security.
Yeah, great advice. So let's bring COVID though back into the
Sure.
element here. How can we travel safely during COVID? What does that look like? What's the travel forecast look like as the fourth wave may be coming, and just as COVID is still an issue here in the world. What is the forecast for travel?
Sure. And I know everybody has sort of different takes or perspectives. Being in travel, yes, I would love for people to travel, but we have to be smart about, traveling in at least the next 6 months. But I feel like 2022 is definitely a more optimistic year ahead. Every city, every state, every province, every country definitely is different in terms of their cases, in terms of their, hospitalization rates. But now it's, in terms of how many people are getting vaccinated. We're doing fairly well here in Canada, as you know, Derek. And, some people may not want to the vaccine, but there's many people that are trying to get to that point where we can get this herd immunity, so it feels comfortable to travel again. And you're hearing it as well. Any certain countries, you have to be fully vaccinated in order to go there. There's potential of a vaccine passport being available to us in order to travel. But something I look at when traveling into the future, we try to really look at destinations that the cases are low, at least at this current time, where the cases are low or the vaccine rate is high. And so, there's less risk to travel to those specific destinations. If you're vaccinated, that does provide you with extra protection as well. Avoiding crowded, highly condensed cities as well is something to consider. And that's where I think going to local communities, off the beaten track places, less large group or festivals or concerts could be, different for some at this time, but really going to areas that, again, aren't as densely populated, and finding destinations that have high vaccination rate, low cases. Again, that's at this current time. We're promoting a lot of destinations for next year that do have a lot of cases and do have low vaccine rates, but it's just going to increase as time goes along. But I think it's just being, aware of that before you take the chances of traveling. And again, from Canada, it's different from traveling from other countries in the world, where Canada, we don't need necessarily to show proof of a PCR, depending where we're traveling when we leave the country. But when we come back in the country, we have to, we don't have to quarantine unless you have to be vaccinated, of course, so you don't have to quarantine, but there's still certain health and safety protocols or rules and regulations that the government is following. But that could change. I mean, there's a recent announcement here in Alberta that raised a lot of eyebrows, but that may make it easier for people to think they could travel. But at the end of the day, I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, what was that announcement?
Basically, if you have symptoms of COVID, you do not have to isolate anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you've traveled all around the world, but where have you not been? That is on your wish list, and why have you not been there?
Yeah, fair enough. It's the list keeps growing. My goal is to reach 100 countries by the time I die, if not many more than that. But destinations that come to mind, they're a little bit different. Is Antarctica, is a destination I definitely need to see. The last continent I need to go to, the seventh continent. There's some unique areas like Philippines I haven't been to. I need to get to. Kenya, Tanzania, actually, I've not been to, and it's one I definitely need to do in the future. I mean, it's very focused on safaris, but I have to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and go to the top of that. Nepal comes to mind. Papua New Guinea is really off the beaten track, but these are some destinations. Japan with the Olympics going on. I know a lot of people are talking about that destination as a place they want to see at some point, but there's a lot more on the list. But I've been fortunate, as I said, but these are destinations that I can't wait to explore.
Wow, so amazing. What an adventurous life you have lived, Ryan. I'm so happy and proud for you. Through all the highs, the lows, through all the countries, the sights, the sounds, what has been your number one lesson that you've learned on your journey that you feel called to share with us today?
Yeah, and I sort of alluded to it earlier, but I think it's really just going for it and not having this fear and self-doubt, and really just being confident in your skills, your abilities. If you're wanting to take on a new challenge, then just go for it. I shouldn't be holding you back. I read a lot of autobiographies, and that's inspiration for me. And these incredible entrepreneurs that like Richard Branson, I think he's about 70 years old and he's still creating businesses. He's flying to space. I mean, as I mentioned, it's pretty powerful when you focus on a goal and you're confident in what you're trying to achieve. It's powerful. It's scary what you can accomplish. But that's probably one of the lessons I would say is just eliminate self-doubt and believe in yourself.
So well said. So well said, Ryan. So this brings us to the final two questions that I ask every guest on this podcast. So here they are. In 3 words, how would you describe the experience you were having on this earth?
Experience on this earth. I would say my experience on this earth is exciting. It's really been an exciting life, traveling, full of seeing different cultures, but also being adventurous and exploring some of these different activities. At the end of the day, I'm very happy with my life right now, whether it's my relationship with my wife, my family, my friends, but also it's very exciting to be sort of early with this with this Not Wasted business as well, and the prospect of travel coming back and returning. So I would say overall, life is good.
Life is good. So exciting. That's one word. So that's 2 more.
Oh, sorry. It was 3 words. I apologize. If I focus on that, I would say, even if I just summarize it even further, and I sort of touched on this earlier, but I'm living the moment. I'm living the moment because at the end of the day, you can't really dwell on the past. You can't be anxious or worried about the future. And again, my wife's taught me to live the moment, be present, and really focus on that. And that's really what I'm doing and going with the flow. Focus on going with the flow right now. Yes, it's good to reflect on the past. It's good to prepare and strategize for the future. But at the end of the day, be present as well.
Perfect. Those are 3 words, phrases.
I missed the 3 words.
No, but I love it. 3 words or phrases. I'll change that moving forward. That was so beautiful. So we played around with time and we rewound things and kind of looked at your history, your past. And now, as a musician, that I believe we all are, I'm going to fast forward us. I'm going to bring us to the future. And we're going to be alongside an 85-year-old Ryan Mikucki. Who is that 85-year-old Ryan? Where are you? Who are you surrounded by? What does your life look like? And what is the legacy that you've left behind in this world?
Oh, that's fully loaded. At the end of the day, 85 years old, I definitely want to be, healthy, fit, athletic at that age. Maybe is a little bit of a funny term, but definitely healthy, fit, enjoying the outdoors. In terms of where I live, I that's a tough one because there's times I think about actually moving back to Calgary. We always talk about, Winnipeg. Sorry, we always talk about that. Calgary's a great place for our current conditions and being able to access the mountains, but being able to enjoy the outdoors consistently at 85. Yes, I want to be able to snowboard or ski at that age. I always refer to, my grandpa, who's called my Jajo in Polish, actually. And not that I'm saying I'm going to be remarried at 84, but because I'll be with my wife till the day I die, but my grandpa was remarried at 84 years of age. He actually remarried after my grandma passed away 2 years before that. So that's a testament that you can still have a great life at that age, and he had a great life until about 95. But just having a zest for life and following the footsteps of him. He was very hardworking, and he even showed that hardworking personality and grit to himself as he aged. But I want to travel. I know we want to travel and continue seeing the world. Maybe it's 150 countries at that point, at 85, who knows, but continue to travel. And, as you can appreciate, in the winters in Canada here, it can be quite cold. So have these winter vacations, maybe in Mexico, Costa Rica, or whatnot. That's definitely something that look forward to doing. So.
That's quite the vivid picture you've painted, and I want you to stay with that picture, with that 85-year-old Ryan. Just a few moments more. I want you to picture this 85-year-old in your mind's eye, and I want you to picture and feel how it feels to be this 85-year-old Ryan in your heart. And I'm going to bring us back. I'm going to bring us back to the infinite now. And in this infinite now, that 85-year-old Ryan, he sends you a message. What does he whisper in your ear today?
Nothing is impossible. I think that's what I'd be saying to myself. Nothing is impossible. Just go for it. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to.
Wow. What a great conversation we just had. I'm so grateful for your time joining me.
Thank you.
It's been too long, Ryan. I appreciate you and I love you, brother.
You as well,
it's
man.
been a blessing to have you on.
Yeah.
So where can people find you that they're wanting to connect with you personally or with your businesses? Where can we send them?
Sure. Personally, yes, I have my Instagram account and Facebook. To be honest, over the last little bit, I've been trying to check out of my personal Instagram, Facebook, so I could be again more present. But as it relates to my businesses, Trip Merchant, www.tripmerchant.com. That's more of our business site. We do have, again, a separate model to that. We have our Instagram, Facebook account, which again, I would say our Facebook is a little bit more active. And then we also have for Not Wasted, it's NotWasted.ca. That's for Instagram, for Facebook, and the website www.notwasted.ca. We're only focused on delivering and shipping in Canada currently, but again, have aspirations to go into the US. But that's where you can find me. But I'm happy to have conversations with anybody, learn about their journeys and how we can maybe collaborate in the future together as well.
Right on, brother. Thank you so much. To close every episode, we bring our fist into the winner circle. This is a choice that we all can take. Boom.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Signing out on this one here today.